See, it just likes a little bit of fuel on it. Okay. Now, the only thing left is this guy, and then we got to take the two bolts off the bottom.
This thing?
Yeah, we got to take this guy. Hey, welcome back to Whitetail Garage. This episode, we're going to get the carburetor ready for a rebuild. So I'm going to get it off the car. He's going to help me take it apart, and we're going to get it all cleaned up. And I'm going to figure out what parts I need other than the basic rebuild and get it ordered. There's a thing with these particular carburetors where the floats are sometimes plastic, or they're either sometimes plastic or they came plastic. So I might have to order the float, and then depending on the pump shaft is usually plastic as well. So there may be some issues there that I need to order separate the rebuild kit. So we're going to jump right in, get the carburetor off of this, and then get it over on the bench, start taking it apart. Let's get started. First, lean over and take that big shiny bolt out. It unscrews. Like that, yeah. No, you had it, you were going right. Remember, right tight, left loose.
Come on.
Let me help you.
No, but I can do it. Yeah.
Okay, when it comes out, just leave it on top, set it on top. I'll take the whole air cleaner.
Can I take it off?
Yeah, whole air cleaner. Now you can set it in that thing right there.
What is this?
That's the carburetor right there. That's what we want to get off onto the bench. And
oh, so, is this what we're fixing?
Yes.
Ah.
So we've got this pipe.
So now what was that thing over it?
That's the air cleaner.
Oh, that cleans the air in it.
Yeah. So
what does it do?
Get rid of this pipe. This is the fuel line, so fuel comes in here. So we got to take this off. And we've got the throttle linkage that has to come off. Mm-hmm. Right here, this hooks to the gas pedal. So we got to get that off too. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go.
There.
Good job there. We'll spin that guy out of the way and leave it.
Okay.
All right. So one thing I just noticed.
And then do we have to do this one right here?
Wow! Look how loose that guy is. That's a problem for sure. I'm just gonna.
Oh, I got it.
Loosen it real quick.
Oops.
You see it right there?
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to get. You might be hand tight already. Is if we put anything over this hole and it gets dropped in it, then it'll get sucked in the engine and damage the engine.
Wait, that's suction? It's sucking?
So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, this is what we do.
That's foil?
Yeah, we just plug the hole.
With foil.
You can use any kind of tape you want, but that's how we're going to do it.
Any type of tape?
Yeah.
Any type of tape?
Any type of tape.
Any type of tape?
Any type of tape.
Any type of tape?
Alright, we're going to put this over.
Hey, you didn't answer my question.
Alright, so now we're going to get started taking this thing apart. I already noticed I was leaking fuel pretty heavily through there, so that seal is definitely bad. You can see it's cracked. First, I'm going to disconnect this right here.
The card, that card is?
Okay. Just so I can make sure I see where things go. Okay, that takes care of that one. Let's go ahead and get these bolts out of the base. Yes, you can. These are the ones we're trying to get out right here.
I got it.
Nope, out of it. And right tight, left loose. Got it?
Yep.
Let's go ahead and drop it in here, because we're going to want to get that clean.
Okay.
So these are going to go in there. Alright, we got one more. That one can stay.
Okay.
We got one more.
What's
Right
that stand we're going to sort?
there. Go ahead and get that guy out.
What else?
Alright, so now we got this base off. And I'm not even sure we needed both of these. This may just be a... I don't know if that's a particular Mustang thing that affords us that or what. And next we can get this off. This is called the throttle body. So that was really loose. Get that screw up.
Got it.
Alright, so this is the throttle body. And this is in the top on this one, but I've seen in other videos where they put it in the center. So I'm not sure about that one. Okay. Next I'm going to take the top off. Look, grab that screw, put it with its buddies.
Okay.
This one right here. No, where my other finger is.
Oh.
Take that one out. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing to pry up. Nope. Trying to get this a little whack to come loose. Let's take these out, put these in a different spot.
So, in its own spot?
Yes. Okay. Okay, there's the inside of that guy. Okay, there's definitely a ton of crud inside there. Alright, so got that all completely apart. I've got it soaking in some carburetor cleaner. I'm gonna let the main body sit in for like 3 or 4 hours and then take it out, and then let all the little parts sit in there for 3 or 4 hours to take it out. I'm just using a little gallon can of gunk carburetor and parts cleaner. That's been pretty effective with other small carburetors that I've fiddled with. Anyways, so now I know the stuff that I have to order. It was in fact the case that it did have the floats that they recommend replacing, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those. Pump shaft is pretty gnarly looking, so go ahead and replace the pump shaft. So I'm going to get all those extra spare parts. I'm probably going to use Mike's carburetor for all the parts. I'll put all the links down in the description. He's got a great video on how to do this work. I can link that as well. It's specifically for the 1940, the Holley 1940, which is what this carburetor is. So we'll get the parts coming and then we'll put it back together. All right, it's been a week and I have gotten my carburetor parts in. So I ordered these 2 kits from Mike's Carburetor. Highly recommend Mike's Carburetor. Nice quality parts, and they got here very, very quickly. No issues whatsoever. This is the base kit. We'll open that up here in just a second, show everything that's in there. And then here is the upgrade, or I don't remember what they called it. It's like the extras kit, but comes with new floats and a few other new things that I wanted to go ahead and get. This is the floats that were in it. These are the ones that they can absorb some fuel and not float as well as they should. Mike's Carburetor highly recommends replacing these, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. and go with these brass floats. So let's get these open, kind of show you what they look like. Actually, first, these need to be actually cleaned. I've just soaked them for 3 hours, not only the small parts, but these major bodies, all soaked for 3 hours, and they still haven't been scrubbed. So I need to go ahead and get all the gasket material off of this guy, you know, start checking everything, making sure it's all open. So I'll do that cleaning first, then we'll open these 2 bags and take a look inside. All right, it's going to take too long to sit here and rub all this stuff off because the razor blade's not taking it off nicely. So what I'm going to try and do, with the exception of when I'm getting in and around, you know, this stuff here, I'm going to use a roll-lock disc. It's a white one. It's for aluminum, so it's real lightweight, and I'm going to do low speed and light pressure and see if that gets me where I want to be. So this is kind of the reason I wanted to use the roll-lock disc, because I'm looking at the top of the carburetor, and you see it's got this line that would be real hard to clean with just a razor blade. I mean, I could use a you know, a wire brush or something, but this will be much faster. That line is, I assume, to help the gasket seal. Okay. I got that pretty well clean. May wire brush it a little bit here and there. You know, there's a couple little spots that might still could be cleaned up a little bit, but otherwise all those surfaces are good. I need to hit this with a file right here that's got a little bit of a, like a Primark nick in it. I mean, it was sealing before, but just in case, I'll hit that with a small file and knock it back down. Now it's just time to thoroughly clean everything, get all of the grime out of every little nook and cranny. All right, we'll call that guy clean. Need to wipe it off a little bit, but otherwise I'm going to call it ready for reassembly. I'll work on this guy next. All right, I'm going to get all these air dried and wiped off, get the surface cleaned up, and get back to you guys where we'll start assembling. Okay, back with all the main pieces all cleaned up. There are 2 spots, or there are a couple of spots that I want to hit with a file. I got a little bit of work I need to do around this little nub, try and get some more gasket material out of that one. But there's a little bit of a high spot, a rough spot, right here at that like helper circuit for the idle. That notch is for when you're coming off idle. There's a little bit of a like just a lifted edge there that I don't want it to interfere with the gasket. Same down here. I don't know if you can see that. Right there, there's a little bit of a lifted edge. Again, just barely touch it with the file, make sure it knocks down. And the same with this. This is right in the gasket area, and has knocked it. That may in fact be where I tried to pry it open. Maybe if the top was really on there and I couldn't get it. But I'm going to hit that and just knock it down with a file real quick. So this one I just want to clean up with a wire brush around that nub. Maybe hit all of this with a wire brush and get what remaining I can off of there. The roll lock did work well. Didn't impact the surface, and I didn't expect it to. It's intended for aluminum. I think that'll do that one. This one I'm going to be super light with just because it's... Yeah, in fact, I don't think I'm going to do any more than just that. Doesn't seem to really be above the surface. This one a little more so. Oh, see, that's actually just a flake of material left over from the casting. It's just been sitting there. So, no problem. Got that squared away. And just hit both of these with some spray clean. Make sure we get all of that out. Okay. Now, I'll work on this for just a minute. See if I can wire brush those off. I'm going to go get a different wire brush though. I'm wondering if just some Scotch-Brite. Yeah, see that's actually really effective. So as I'm cleaning this up, I'd say I'll share the video. I'll share the link to the video. Mike's Carburetor has a great video on rebuilding. And like I always say on my channel, it's less about how-tos and more about just how I've done it, and just give you another view of, you know, someone else trying to do it. So, I mean, take a look at the experts for sure. So I'll link that down in the comments to his video. And then I don't have any affiliation with him or anything, but I'll also link to these two kits that we'll go through here in a minute to rebuild the 1940. So far, it's pretty basic. I would think that, especially since it's a single barrel, that anybody with any kind of mechanical aptitude would be able to repair these or rebuild these. They're pretty basic, and I'll tell you the one thing that really surprised me about Mike's carburetor parts is when you order these parts from him, he includes the free downloadable manual, and he sells them for I think $10 or something like that, and then they're included if you buy the whole if you buy a rebuild kit. And let me tell you, for the 1940, that was really an impressive set of literature. And once you get that manual and you see how thorough it is and how much is included, I think it's every bit worth the $10 that he charges regularly. And frankly, I'd have paid it separately rather than it being nicely included in these well-priced parts. So just some feedback there. All right, so let's open up these two. Open up these two kits. See what all we got on them. Let's start with this one. K1138. And so I just saw my check ball roll off. Where'd it go? There it is, right there in that little dimple. It's a nice new check ball. That's a new seal. I wasn't sure if it came with this seal. So this is the seal that goes in right here in the top for that arm that goes through, and it's kind of basically a grommet. It's not like a crazy hard seal because it doesn't necessarily need to be. Only fumes would really leak through that. But mine was just destroyed, deteriorated, and had fallen apart. So I was glad that's included. I wasn't sure if it was. So a couple of... Okay, so new power valve. I'll double check the jet there and make sure it's the same. I don't even know if this is actually a jet as much as just the power valve. I mean, that's how much I know, but I'll validate that against the one I've got. Then it doesn't come with a new main jet, but my main jet is in good shape, so no concerns there. New fuel inlet valve. One thing that was interesting is this seems like a rubberized coating on the end. Mine did not have that, so I'm not sure if I gain any performance or you know, any more sealability. So I thought that was interesting, just a different observation. A new plunger for the pump, and I've got a new shaft in this other kit because that shaft is pretty old. But so new plunger, and we've got replacement for this guy that I'll have to put that spring cap on. Then a whole set of gaskets. Nice ruler is going to help me check, make sure the floats sit where they're supposed to sit. Everything's good there. So I'll actually put that up a little high so it doesn't get dirty. Thought this was kind of interesting. It comes with a nice thick, almost like a phenolic spacer of sorts that maybe I could use against the intake. No, it looks like it's not the right size. Well, I could use it against the base of the carburetor. Anyways, my setup did not have this before, but you know, that's a nice thick spacer that you could maybe use a phenolic spacer. But then all the gaskets you might need, all the different ones. It looks like I don't have a new one for the base because the base is slightly wider. You know, you look at that. So that would mean that I'm going to have to either make or find me another gasket for the base to make that work. Now let's open this guy up. Comes with a little bit of really fine grit sandpaper. New floats. Top gasket. Two new springs. New float retainer. New pump shaft. This I won't be using, but this is the power control valve for a load-o-matic distributor. So I won't be using that. This carburetor came out of a newer Mustang than a 1966 and didn't have a power control valve. And so that power control valve would normally go right down in here. But I don't have, it's not threaded, it's not ported, there's nothing there. This carburetor is not intended to have a power control valve. All right, so I'm gonna check the pump with the check ball and weight. So So here's my weight. I'll drop the, first I'll do it with just that. So because I don't have really anything else, I'm going to fill this with just some Berryman's carb cleaner. Okay. So it flows very easily. All right. All that works. Okay. 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 See, there's a little shoulder for the old spring to sit in. If you see down in there, there's a shoulder for the spring to sit in, but this new spring is a little too big for that shoulder. But if you install the gasket, you can clearly see that even though if that shoulder, if it rides up on the outer shoulder or anything, it's not going to interfere with the gasket. And obviously it's also not going to interfere with anything over on this side. So it'll be okay that it's a little bit larger. All right, so got all these screws in. Pump is in. I've got a little bit of a hang up here. Doesn't seem to want to move very far, but I don't think it comes out that far. So I think that's the movement I'm supposed to see. But I'm going to get the throttle body on and kind of check that to make sure it's moving and retracting like it's supposed to. There may also be some spring assist from the throttle once that linkage is all hooked up. I don't remember, so I'm going to validate that. One of the things I was just looking at that comes in this kit is you actually have the throttle body gasket. You have 3 different sizes. If I line that side up, you can see clearly the 3 different sizes there. So you just want to make sure you're grabbing the right bore. The one for mine is actually the one right in the middle, and you'll see that it lines up correctly with that throttle body. This linkage in there. I actually I think I was supposed to put that linkage in first. See, that's a problem. The pump is not returning like it should. So actually I have that in backwards. I'll take this guy out. Okay, I might not be able to. Yeah. Okay, so that's the proper way that this linkage goes in, like that. So this guy, it's a cone spring, so the smaller end's going to go down there, bigger end's going to sit in there. And then once you've transferred over your spring and everything, it's going to sit, that arm is going to sit right into that shoulder like that. Right? Not looking forward to piecing this back together with this spring. Now, I may have gotten a little bit ahead of myself because, again, this connects to here with this one, I believe. So I may have to undo it again so I can connect that. So just like that. Okay. I'll put the spring back in. Okay. Now we can put this last linkage on with this guy and the retaining clip. So alright. Now back to put the choke spring back in. See, this pump isn't working. I'm gonna have to take this apart. This should be moving more than that, and it doesn't. Darn. Something is stopping the pump from, I can feel it jamming up, getting bound up on something. I'm just getting the linkages back out of the way so that way when I take the top off it won't be as hard to get stuff out of the way. I'm going to leave this one and take the top off and lay it off that way. Actually, no, I don't want to do that because I would bind the pump and that other little main tube if I did that, so this has got to come off. And I see no chafing down inside there. I'm going to put a little bit of motor oil on the couple of drops of motor oil here and around the inside there. So let's try it again. Maybe just a matter of lubrication, and now since it's not sitting in fuel, it's not popping back. Alright, now I can put linkages back together. I mean that's better. Yeah, I guess it was just a lubrication. There's a little bit more oil in there. I did put a couple of drops, but that feels much better. Let's get everything else on here. Now we're getting the movement we expect. Okay. Normally your vacuum to your distributor goes here. I'm not using that, so I just plug it. Wrong size. Okay, so fuel filter off the front of it. Idle air. Idle needle adjustment. If I remember correctly, you run these till they bottom out, and then it's a turn or a turn and a half backed out. So we'll just run that guy down till it stops like that. And I think it's just 1.5 turns. So half, whole, half. So we'll start with that. I'll validate it and then readjust once we're on the car if I need to. I don't know where this goes. On my car it wasn't used. It goes right into the chamber here, just a straight shot through. And because of that, that means it's pulling in unfiltered air right into the carburetor. So I plugged it on mine. Don't know if it's supposed to be plugged, but I didn't want vacuum, or number one, this isn't a vacuum leak up here, but I didn't want unfiltered air being sucked in the carburetor, so let it pull everything through that. Otherwise, I think we're good. Here is my base. I'm curious why I need this extra. I haven't validated why I might need that extra yet, and I was curious if I could find out why. This may tell me. No. So there may be an issue with this. I think this will hit the intake if I don't have that spacer. So I'll run with it because it was on there. So now the two good recommendation from Mark's Carburetor in his video: keep your old gaskets when you take them off so you can compare and make sure you're using the right ones. So on these, I just had two standard gaskets, and on either side of this guy, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't really have two standards. Like, that seems like a pretty close, and I don't care about that hole because it isn't covered by that. Fair enough, that gasket's that. But this one now, this one has some holes here, but they all open up to the chamber. So no matter what gasket I use, I'm not opening it up to anything else. Here's the gasket that was on there, and these holes were not leading to anything. So I could really use any gasket I want in that stead. Something like that would be fine. I mean, even this is fine because it doesn't go anywhere on this one. But I think I'll use this solid one. Actually, no, I don't want to. It's too small. I can't use that. Even this guy's too small. Well then, the only one I can use is this big one as like a sort of a phenolic spacer, if you will, which I kind of like, to be honest. Get a little bit of that heat off. So if I'm going to do that, yeah, I just as soon do that. Like that. That does mean that I'll have to adjust the throttle as it connects to the bottom of the carburetor, because that will be slightly different. There we go. Ready to go back on the car. All right, carburetor's in. I think I've got it adjusted, at least, baseline adjusted. It starts and runs, so now I'm going to put the air cleaner on it, take it for a test drive. All right, back from the test drive. That was successful. Always take a fire extinguisher just in case, right? Especially with carburetor stuff. You never know if it's if you're going to have a leak or something cause an issue. But, and I did have a leak, by the way, at the fuel filter as it screws right into the fuel inlet. The needle and seat setup, it was leaking there. So I had to take all that back apart, put it back together. I actually had to use a little bit of Teflon tape on that filter. I don't know, it just wasn't meshing well with the new needle and seat fitting. It did fine on the old one, but not the new one. But otherwise, it's idling like it should at about 550 RPM. That's perfect. It's never been able to idle that low. It always died. And then there's this one little path where we were pulling into a parking lot, and it almost always died when we hit a bump going and kind of up and into the parking lot. It always did that. And so I don't know if it was just, you know, coincidental that it always did that there or not, but I don't think I've ever been into that parking lot and not die, and this time it did not die. So I've been able to get past that. It has a, you know, good vibration when it's at such a low RPM. So I need to go find all the little things that make noise and get rid of those. But otherwise, I mean, it's idling nice and low. It maybe could use a harmonic balancer. That might clean up that vibration. But I'm not going to throw anything else at it. I think the balancers were like $110 or something. I think it's fine the way it is. So we'll continue to drive it, see if we run into any other issues. But otherwise, it looks like the rebuild was successful. I know I did replace gaskets that were going bad. I know I did replace, you know, the pump that was going bad. And I know I cleaned out all the gunk that was inside there. There was a ton of gunk just inside the bowl. So at least that was an upgrade. I'm pretty sure we fixed the dying issue and we made this thing a lot more reliable. So we'll keep test driving it and see how it goes. But I'm going to end this one here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.